On one hand, Baldur's Gate 3 is a serious, sprawling, epic RPG filled with important quests and life or death choices that could change the fate of the very world itself. On the other hand, Baldur's Gate 3 is a deeply silly game full of breathtakingly weird stuff and quests that go in directions so bizarre you wouldn't be able to predict them even if you cast Detect Thoughts on the developers. With that in mind, here are 6 of our favourite weird side quests we did instead of doing all the important stuff we were supposed to be doing. Enjoy!
I'll tell you this much. I'm going to Baldur's Gate, with or without the rest of these poor sods. Now, that's all I have to say besides, and I really mean this, move.
Baldur's Gate is a game in which bright red people with horns, guys with tentacle faces, and lizard monsters wearing top hats are just wandering around, so a creature has to be pretty unusual to gain the descriptor strange. But I think the strange ox that you first encounter in Emerald Grove definitely earns the title, as you'll discover if you use Speak with Animals and strike up a conversation.
Ah, you're addressing me, a humble ox. How quaint.
From the get-go, it's clear that this ox is unlike the other oxen in its pen.
Something's off. This creature isn't what it appears to be.
Any attempt to discern the true nature of this suspicious bovine, however, is met with hostility. You're not getting answers this time around.
I'd so love to see them try.
You next run into the ox in Act 2 in the stables of the Last Light Inn. Here, the ox will declare you incapable.
No, incapable.
And if you protest that you are capable, the ox shows you a psychic vision of its mind, its past.
Are you satisfied?
Whatever it is, it's super f***ed up. The third and final time you meet the ox is at the stables in Rivington, where it's much happier to see you.
My! The fates move in strange and scrumptious ways. I am delighted to see you again.
Because it wants a favour. Yes, now the ox wants you to smuggle it into the lower city of Baldur's Gate for who knows what horrible purpose.
But what if I was smaller, more discreet? Maybe then a kind soul might bring me through. Right in their little pocket.
And so it disguises itself as an apple, and if you're willing to not think too hard about the consequences, you can pop it in a pocket, take it into the city, and then...
Ah! Thank you for the lift, my friend. Thank you very much indeed. Ta-ta!
Off it goes, to do whatever it's going to do. Something nice, probably. Let's say that.
Hello, hello, and welcome to the Circus of the Last Days, the finest extra-planar circus there is.
Just because we've all got mind flayer parasites in our brain, and just because we're all ticking time bombs, sometimes literally, Gale, that doesn't mean we can't make time to have fun at the circus. Even if this circus, the Circus of the Last Days, sets a poor first impression by having a ghoul smell you on the way in.
Stinks of cheese between his piggy toes!
How dare you!
And is populated almost entirely by magic jerks.
Approach! Ugly one!
Incomprehensible mummies. And exotic animals that want to kill everyone.
I will show you. All of you.
Worst of all these circuses' attractions, however, has to be Dribbles the Clown, a sinister harlequin with a line in Terrible Jokes.
Buddy the dog is my very best friend. Do you know why? Why? Because with him, anything is possible. Way!
And a fondness for getting people to come up on stage and join in his act.
But first, I need a volunteer with nerves of steel and the heart of a lion. Who will it be? Who?
Dribbles is, incredibly, even worse than actual clowns, because he isn't actually a clown at all, but rather a shapeshifter disguised as Dribbles who will try and murder you as soon as you get on stage.
You're special, my friend, because I have a message just for you. Praise the Absolute.
So if this isn't Dribbles, then where is the real Dribbles? That's the question that Circus Ringmaster Lucretius wants you to answer, and in this quest you'll discover that Dribbles is in quite a lot of places, actually.
I found it by the clown man's tent. Fought a rat for it and everything's. It's a one-of-a-kind hand with artisanal bite marks. It's worth lots.
That's because the poor clown has been killed and cut up into a bunch of different pieces, and it's up to you to wander all over town picking up his various limbs, his torso, his pelvis, and his head, if you can find it.
Dribbles' head, severed at the neck. No covering that ugly face, please.
Collect all these disparate clown parts and return to Lucretius, and you'll find out that the plan is to use all the pieces to stitch Dribbles back together and reanimate him better than ever.
Oh, perfection. This is just what I need. His flesh has a few rat bites and his teeth are missing, but these are minor issues. I shall remake Dribbles better than before, where once he was famous, he will now become legend.
Probably still no scarier than a regular clown, so I reckon it's fine.
Ah, a new face. Something to send? Oh, don't be shy.
In somewhere as weird as Baldur's Gate, even a case of missing mail can have a deeply strange story behind it, as you'll discover if you head into the Sword Coast Couriers in Rivington.
Welcome to Sword Coast Couriers. To send and to serve. Delivery not guaranteed.
Chat to Postmaster Danzo here and he'll tell you that lately he's been trying to deliver mail by pigeon, but that the pigeons have been going missing along with the letters themselves.
Become a Postmaster, Danzo. It'll be easy. Nobody mentions having to spend your evenings hunting for pigeon carcasses, do they?
He asks you to investigate, but there's not a lot to go on. That is, of course, unless you're a powerful warlock who can speak to pigeons. Then you're in luck.
Oh, damned awful business. Fine flyers, a lot of them. Gone without a trace. Intelligence is in short supply, but we know our enemies flanked us on the west side, not one rooftop away.
Yes, this confusingly accented pigeon has the lowdown for you. You need to check the roof of the temple opposite, where, a little climbing later, you'll come across the nest of a Tressim, a fantasy creature that's basically a cat with wings.
Meow.
And like a cat, this thing is a real jerk and has been eating pigeons with zero remorse for the pigeons or the mail that's now sitting in a big pile on this roof.
I ate the pigeons. Are you satisfied? I prevaricated before. Pigeon is my second most favourite meat.
Thankfully, with a bit of persuasion, this cat can be convinced to leave this rooftop and try a different part of town, leaving you free to retrieve the letters and return them to their rightful place.
Thank the gods! Unopened as well. Oh, what a relief. My customers will be most pleased.
Probably not even that much pigeon blood on them. Result.
If you are here with regards to her recent marriage, you may leave any gifts or warm wishes with me, and I will ensure she receives them.
Curse your luck!
Forgive me. As you can hear, Lady Janeth is indisposed at present. Please come back another time.
Free the Artist is a two-part quest in Baldur's Gate 3 that starts off pretty normally and then ends 2 acts later in the most over-the-top bonkers way imaginable. In Act 1, you might stumble across the Zentarim hideout, wherein you can find Oscar Fevras, a painter being held captive to churn out portraits for money.
I am an artist, and my patron will reward you for my rescue.
So far, so normal. If you set him free, however, you'll encounter him again in Act 3, and that's when things get seriously weird. Head into Oscar's house in Baldur's Gate and you might realise that something strange is going on account of how all the furniture is floating. And there are poltergeists everywhere. Head upstairs and you'll find Oscar himself is possessed by a vengeful spirit who is none too fond of his new wife, Lady Janeth.
All I hear is the grunting of a swine. Come closer so I can rip out your filthy tongue.
Defeat the other spirits in the room and Lady Janeth will ask you to investigate Oscar's atelier on the top floor, which is easier said than done because the stairs are guarded by some absolute bastard hard-cursed skulls. But if you make it up there and place a portrait of Oscar in the empty easel found there, you unlock a secret back room wherein lies a portrait of Oscar's former love, Kerry, and a note from a spirit medium called Mystic Carrion, who set up Oscar's communion with Kerry in the first place.
The portrait is ice cold to the touch, filling you with a sense of overwhelming dread. So why is the woman smiling?
A quick trip to Mystic Carrion nets you a magic torch called the Torch of Revocation, and attacking Kerry's portrait with that causes her to flee the painting and head downstairs to give Oscar an apparently much-needed dressing down, because it turns out this guy is the worst.
He called me here. Trapped me. Pathetic little childish boy.
I only wished to explain myself to make you see how...
No! Enough of your whining. Enough!
She then leaves and the house returns to normal, but Oscar does offer you a sweet portrait of yourself as a reward.
Here he is, the hero of the hour. Brushes are oiled, the canvas prepped, and you... Well, you're comfortable. That's the main thing. So, shall we begin?
Aren't portraits the reason we got into this whole mess in the first place? Honestly, these people never learn.
The place was empty. Keep those thugs away from my family.
Danuvia! Get these spotters out of my house now!
When you first arrive in Rivington in Act 3 of Baldur's Gate 3, you'll almost immediately run into Arthur Gregorio, a wealthy toymaker who isn't keen to let refugees stay in his home.
They're like kobolds. You let one in and soon the place will be crawling with them.
Ye gods, this guy's begging to get smacked.
Damn right, Karlach. It's not just because he's an a-hole, although that is one reason, it's also because he's hiding something in his basement, as evidenced by the number of traps this preposterous number of failed perception checks indicates there are going on here.
This'll be fun.
Yeah, good job, everyone. A search of the basement reveals a blackmail note instructing Arthur to sabotage the toys, which is terrible, obviously, so you're going to want to head straight to the refugee donation centre and disarm that box of exploding teddy bears. I mean, that's one way of doing it, sure. Anyway, now that those toys no longer pose a risk to the refugee kids, you need to track down Arthur and find out who's behind all this. Information he is more than willing to provide for the low, low price of not killing him.
I collect packages from Verloga's fireworks in the lower city and stuff the bears with it. Not because I want to, because I have to. Otherwise they'll kill me!
This leads you to a literal fireworks factory where it's clear that something suspicious is going on.
Browse as irresponsibly as you like. Just don't tell the other customers.
And whatever it is happening on the top floor.
Employees only, Pastia. If you're expecting any packages, they'll bring them down to you.
Now, usually in Baldur's Gate 3 there's some clever or peaceful way to resolve these kinds of situations, but try as we might, we haven't found a way of finishing the Investigate the Suspicious Toys quest that isn't detonate this entire fireworks factory. Gets the job done, though.
If you cross a nothing else is strange.
Hey, would it kill you to laugh a little?
When you spend most of your day wading through blood-slick dungeons, casting agonizing blast on twisted monsters, you need something to take your mind off things. Well, if it's chuckles you're in the mood for instead of horrors, then head to the Elf Song Tavern in the lower city, where you can find a comedian by the name of Harvard Willoughby.
I'm Willoughby, a comedian. And we got a little contest here called the Laff Riot. You want to play along?
Willoughby has a stand-up comedy show called the Laff Riot, and he's looking for comics to step up and challenge him at his own game, which is, again, jokes of the caliber you'd find on a Baldurian popsicle stick.
You know, I wouldn't be here tonight, except my wife ran off with a cambion. That's right, I got Fiend Zone.
Of course, just because you're a mind-flayed wizard with a parasite in your brain doesn't mean you can't crack a joke or two, and if you like you can enter, and indeed, beat Willoughby with your own material.
Got me with an ancient jest that's older than I am.
Most of which is pretty good if I'm honest.
Win or lose, I'm stealing that one.
Okay, less sure about that one, but it got the job done. Gales of laughter from the audience. Get it? Because Gale, the wizard? Alright, fine.
Yeah, you're hilarious. Now get out of here before I lose my job.
Those were 6 hilariously bizarre quests we did instead of dealing with our brain tadpole. Do you have a favourite Baldur's Gate 3 diversion we missed? Let us know in the comments and like, subscribe, maybe even check out our Patreon page if you like what we do here and want to see more of it. Thanks for watching.